Today, I'm at Harvard Law School, about to talk with the students here, and my goal is to urge them to set aside the assignments that they have and think about assigning themselves the crafting of a meaningful life. What kind of story do they really want to tell? Something that's really from their hearts as well as from their minds, and something that might actually help the world a bit. But first, I think this law library is missing something. Maybe a little touch of magic. Thank you, everybody. I have to say this law school is so much improved from when I was here. For starters, we never got food before a lecture. I mean, seriously. Now I know why you all have come, but I'm hoping to be your food for thought. Anyway, please disregard everything you just heard in that introduction. I am a fiction author, and so I asked Steve to just make it up. Now, I will tell you there is one thing that's true, though, in that introduction, and that's that I have always loved story. I have always been drawn to the world of story ever since being a kid around a campfire in Colorado. I would love hearing a well-told tale. And I began to have a dream of being a writer someday, thinking about telling my own stories and living in the mountains, and that dream grew and grew. And well, after I went off to Oxford, had a few travels, I came back with a novel I had written somewhere between the Trans-Siberian Railway and working as a roof thatcher in rural Japan. And I brought it back to Oxford and printed it up and sent it off. By the way, this is pre-email, so sending it off means literally sending off a big hulking manuscript in the post office. I sent it off and I thought, okay, I chose 32 publishers and I didn't know which one of them would be the lucky winner of, this great new undiscovered American author, but I thought, the first one in the door, I'll be gracious. So I had high expectations, and I guess you could say that novel had a terrific reception. Of the 32 that I sent out, I scored 32 rejections. It was a complete strikeout. And actually, I have to stop here to say, all of you who have ever experienced rejection, it's not pleasant. It really can hurt. And actually, some of those letters were downright cruel, brutal even. But it's not fair to label them all that way. There was one letter, actually, one that still stands out in my memory. I can actually see it in my mind's eye. One letter from a New York publisher that was really just so personal. It was so warm. It made me feel like I was a real human being with dignity. So I will tell you, this letter, so personal, I can, as I said, I can see it. I'll read it to you in my memory. It said, "Dear Sir / Madam." Now, that wasn't, it got even better. They made it even more personal. They actually circled the word sir, which really touched my heart. And then it went on to say, "Dear Sir / Madam, your work of fiction / nonfiction, circle fiction, does not meet our publishing standards for our spring / fall publication list." Oh, by the way, and in that case, they circled both spring and fall, just to make sure I didn't miss the point. Anyway, so that left me with all kinds of warm fuzzies and a question. What am I going to do next? And so I will tell you, I did what many, many young people have done at that point in life where they just had no clue whatsoever what they could do with their future. I decided to go to law school. This law school. Well, fast forward, after being up here, I joined a private equity and venture capital firm in New York City. I was there for many years, for 7 years, and became president and chief operating officer of the firm. We became a public company. It was very busy, but there was a problem. I would still fight to find time to write. Early in the mornings, I'd get up at 4:30 or 5, and I'd write, sitting there at our kitchen table. I would write in the back of taxis, or even in the back of board meetings or business pitches, whatever. People thought I was taking the most copious notes of anybody, but actually what I was really doing was doing character sketches on them. And I'm trying to imagine, what emerged from that business suit on Saturday nights, things like that. Well, pretty soon this dissonance between the life I was living, and it was a good life. I enjoyed a lot about the business and making companies work and all the rest, that there was a lot of creativity of a kind in that, and I enjoyed that, and I loved a lot of my partners and the investors. Well, but this yearning to write was still there, and finally, honestly, it came to a point before a big meeting, a big annual presentation meeting, where I stayed up almost the whole night thinking about it and talking with my wonderful new bride, and came to a decision and walked in, made a very nice financial report to my partners, and then finished by saying, oh yeah, one more thing, I quit. I'm not joining a competitor, I added. I'm actually going to move back to Colorado, where the second half of my childhood was spent, and see if I can maybe write a book somebody might actually want to read. Now, of course, I had no evidence at all I could actually do that, but I really did need to try. You can imagine how wonderful that shock was in the room. It was completely silent, actually, until one of my partners, the head of the firm, came up, and he was shaking. He was so upset. He was sheet white, and he said, Tom, you just cannot do this. You cannot do this. It's crazy. And I said, I really have to. It's actually not so crazy. Believe me, it's something I need to do. He said, but think what you're leaving. And I said, I'm aware, but I need to try this. And then he reached into his pocket, and he pulled out a beat-up business card, and he put it in my hand, and he said, this is my therapist. You have to get in there today. You're liable to do something really, really drastic. Brooklyn Bridge, open windows, whatever. Anyway, so that's the kind of warm and supportive reception I got. That day, when I quit to see if I could write, this month was 24 years ago, and 30 books ago, soon to be 31. And you know what? More good things have happened in that 24 years than I could possibly have guessed, including the contact with readers from all around the world. But there have been bestsellers and international editions, and now a movie in the works at Disney, all this good stuff. But I still get letters that are memorable. And now I guess I should say, instead of the humbling kind of letter like Dear Sir / Madam, I get letters that are maybe humbling in a different kind of way. I'm thinking of one I got recently from a young woman in California, who she wrote to say, Dear T.A. Barron, I came and heard you at the public library. You spoke to all of us. Most of my friends think I came because I like your books, which I do, but that's not really why I came. And then she said, the real reason I came is that I have always wanted to write books myself, but I never thought I could do it until now. Now, freeze the frame. At this point, I have this wonderful, goofy, happy look on my face, I'm sure, a very warm feeling that something, I didn't know what it was, but something I must have said, encouraged this young woman to do what was in her heart and sing her own song. And that felt great. That's a big part of what I'm about. So it felt great. Then I made a huge huge mistake. I kept on reading her letter. Remember, she said she always wanted to write books, but never thought she could do it until now. Then she added, because now that I have heard you speak, I know for sure you really don't have to be very smart after all to write novels. I think I know what she meant, but maybe not. Anyway, what I'm really getting at here is this. To be serious for a moment, when people ask me about my career change, they often say, wasn't that scary to do that, to change your life like that? And I say, of course, it's always scary to make a change in your life. It's scary to change jobs or change locations. It's scary to make any kind of change of that order. But the fact is, that wasn't nearly as scary as the idea of growing old and sitting on my doorstep somewhere and being an old man with very little time left and knowing I had a dream that I just didn't have the guts to pursue. That's a really scary thought. Honestly, the idea of trying and failing isn't nearly as frightening as the idea of never trying at all. The truth is, all we have, and I mean all we have, is our time and our souls. So why not make the most of both of those? The question is how. And that's especially difficult to answer, I think, if we have been good at doing assignments that have been given to us our whole lives. I know I was when I was at your age and stage, and I'm sure that all of you are very, very good, adept at doing assignments provided by someone else. But this is the time in life where it's important to give yourself your own assignments. And the way I might suggest going about that are asking yourself two questions. The two questions that I asked myself in that time that really helped me. One is a question that's directed inside, and one is a question that's directed outside to the world. The question inside is, what do I love? What do I honestly really care about? What do I really love? And the question to the outside is, what does the world need? What does the world genuinely need that I can help provide? If you put the answer of those two questions together, what do I love and what does the world need? You are well on the way to having a wonderful, meaningful life. For me, the answer to those two questions comes up with three basic ideas. Ideas that honestly I've built my life around in the decades since. They're the pillars on which my life has been built. One is story. That won't surprise you. One is nature, and one is young people. In the world of story, I have come to think about stories in whatever form, novels, plays, movies, whatever form you take stories. They're a kind of vessel. They're like a boat that can carry us to faraway places, right? But the interesting thing is that stories that are really well told and that have those enduring qualities aren't taking us out of this world as much as they are taking us into a deeper reality of this world we're in. That's because stories are great vehicles for ideas. They carry, it's as if those boats I was describing have in their hold ideas, and they carry those. Ideas like, what difference can one person's life make? Or is there any way we can learn to live sustainably on this beautiful but beleaguered planet of ours? The second pillar is nature. And the truth is, nature really refills my cup like nothing else. I know no other place I can go to feel both very small and very large at the same time. When I'm out under a Colorado night sky and the stars are so bright you almost feel like you have to squint to look up at them. Or in a deep redwood forest in Northern California where I was 2 weeks ago with trees that are majestic and massive and over 2,000 years old. Or standing by the ocean, looking out to sea at that infinite space the ocean provides. Well, in those places, we feel very small, we feel reduced, we feel humbled. And that's, by the way, a good thing. Feeling humbled is a good thing for us human beings. At the same time, though, in all of those places in nature, we get to feel enlarged, enhanced, because we are part of all that. So the grand sweep of time and space in the stars or in a redwood forest or walking along the seashore, that lifts us and makes us feel larger too, because we belong to all that grandeur. The third pillar is you all right here, young people. And I must tell you that no set of people inspire me more than young people. You have that wonderful combination of energy, honesty, idealism, and it really lifts my heart. It renews my hope. That's why I've sponsored that prize named after my mother that turns the spotlight on outstanding young people from all around North America, 25 of them a year, and really just to celebrate them and their accomplishments so that their stories might inspire other young people. So when I look out among all of you, I really do feel a renewed sense of hope and optimism, even with the scale of the problems that we face as a planet and a species. So let me finish by saying something to you I say both as a writer and as a fellow human being. See your life as a story. Yeah, a story of which you are the author. Tell it with courage. Tell it with passion. And just make it the very best story you can. Thank you very much.